Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Kyle Stetzer of the Culture Talks podcast. We are excited to have everyone back again. I tell you guys every time we get on this episode, on new episodes, that I told you last week, I told you the week before, we're going to continue to get guests on. We started off as a solo podcast, and here we are on, I believe, our 40th guest, and I'm excited to introduce her. So her name is Julie Green, reigning from the great city of Toronto. And if you're watching this on camera right now, you can see the amazing human here to my left or right.
Hello, everybody.
Go ahead and introduce yourself, my friend.
Okay, so hey, everyone. I'm Julie. So like Kala said, I'm from Toronto, Ontario. That's in Canada, just in case if you're watching from somewhere else. I've been a personal trainer for about 10 years. Things have definitely been crazy. I think always as a trainer, things have been crazy, but definitely over the last couple months, things have been a huge shift. I guess I was never into sports prior to being a trainer. So that's something most people were into sports or something like that and then got into training after. That definitely was not me. I was not into sports or anything and then ended up getting into training as an adult after college. Yeah, that's kind of like the gist, I guess, the intro.
Hey, beautiful, beautiful. That's great to hear. That is actually interesting that you mentioned that because, yes, ladies and gentlemen, I told you guys I'm gonna try to bring like some people from all different types of fields. So today we have a personal trainer, somebody who's been doing it for quite a while. Unlike myself, I'm also a personal trainer as well, but only for 2 years. So she's a legend. She's a legend in the game. She's a what do you call it? A veteran. A veteran.
Yeah. I'm like, wait, I'm old, but not that old. Okay.
She's a veteran in the personal training game. So I'm excited to talk to her a little bit about that. But tell us a little bit about, growing up in Toronto. I assume you also grew up in Toronto, but maybe not. Tell us about where you grew up.
Didn't. So I grew up in Montreal, so it's in another province. And then I moved to Ontario when I was 11. And I guess, yeah, I was never really into, like, I did, like, I guess, like, figure skating, maybe played softball. It was never, I would say I was active, like, obviously playing outside and doing things like that, but I was never, like, on sports teams or even in high school. I wasn't, like, really part of anything there. It was more like just kind of hanging out outside with my friends type of person. But then, yeah, so I was in a smaller town just outside of Toronto, and I did move to Toronto for school, and that's when I realized when I lived on my own was that eating differently and not actually moving around doing things and like taking care of myself, I noticed like a huge difference in my body and things like that. So I guess that's kind of part of how I got started into fitness there.
So for people outside of Canada, can you break down real quick? I know you're not a geography teacher, but
Yeah.
but can you break down like are they called states, provinces? How many are there? And then where, I know you kind of just said it, but where exactly is Toronto in regards to some of the other major cities in Canada?
Okay, so how many provinces? This is honestly, I don't know. I'm not gonna tell you. Like, I actually don't know.
It's all good.
Yeah. There's quite a few though. Like, it's a pretty big country. And so Toronto, I guess the closest like big city that maybe people have heard of would maybe in Canada is Montreal. And that would be about, I want to say, a 5-hour drive. But other cities, like maybe people have heard of like Vancouver and things like that. I've never even been there. That's on the complete other side of the country. I don't even know how long it would take to get there. It's probably closer for me to get to the States, like to go, it's like a 4-hour drive to Detroit, or I want to say like a 2-hour drive to Buffalo. So,
okay.
From Toronto, yeah.
So like growing up, did like you and any of your let's say you're in high school, like did you and any of your like high school friends frequently like commute to New York, or no, not really?
Not really. I would honestly, I would like kind of sneak out of my place and say I'm sleeping over at my friends, and I would sneak into Toronto because I was about 45 minutes outside of Toronto. So we kind of like sneak in, like kind of party in Toronto and then go home. But
that's
I
lit.
didn't go, yeah, I didn't go to the States. I didn't go to the States too. There was definitely a couple trips And when I was older, I definitely traveled more to the States. Like I would say kind of all over when we were allowed to fly places.
Yes, yes, yes. So, am I incorrect, or don't they like speak French in Montreal?
They do. Yeah, yeah, there was a lot of French speaking in like the province of Quebec and in Montreal, but I would say it's different than the French they speak in France. Like it's very kind of slang and like it's a little bit different. Yeah.
It's kind of like a few people I've met from Toronto, like I don't really know what part of Toronto, but like when their slang is like sounds really similar to like it's like mixed with a whole bunch of cultures. Like I don't know, it's kind of confusing. Like sometimes it's not confusing per se, but like when I don't know, like it's just really dope because I think I had another guest on here that was a marketer and he lives in Toronto as well, and we were just talking about how, you know, although this word is overused, but how Toronto is such a melting pot of like so many different cultures and like so many different cultures and how people like
Yeah.
grow up and like have so many friends from different cultures, so they get a I don't know, they get a little droplet of like culture from so many different
More
cultures, and it's pretty cool.
exposure. Yeah, 100%. Like even when I go back to like kind of where I went to high school, like there isn't really a lot of culture there, and I can kind of see the difference. Like in Toronto, I'm like I see everything all the time, so it's like I don't even think about it. And going back there, I'm just like then I noticed that it's not there, and I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, so there's definitely a melting pot, mixing pot. I don't know what you want to call it, but that's the thing I do love about Toronto. Because I moved out of Toronto for a couple months and I actually hated it so much because I was just like, there wasn't a lot available, there wasn't a lot of different things there. And that's what really made me appreciate living here.
Awesome. So you said did you say you moved to Toronto for university?
Yeah,
Or
for college I did. Yeah.
yeah, talk
Yeah.
about that. What did you study and why did you decide to study that while you were there?
Oh, that's gonna be kind of funny. So I went for actually fashion merchandising. So that's like I would say like buying clothes, like the actual how they did the displays in the store and things like that. And originally in high school, I thought I wanted to be a fashion designer because, so I kind of already said I would sneak out to Toronto because I used to be a pretty big raver back in like late 90s, early 2000. And so I was really into like those fuzzy pants, like the wide leg pants and things like that. So I was like, I'm going to make these. So I was so into that. And I was like, I love this so much right now. I want to make this like my career. But then I realized I was like, that seems like a lot of work. And like, it seems like it's very hard to get into. So then this other program was more like, I would say like kind of retail, more like the back end of how like fashion operates. And I was like, that's something I'm very operation organized, like just planning things out and things like that. So I went for that. And yeah, when I got there, I was never like really into makeup or clothes or anything like that. And then I realized everybody there was like always dressed like, I don't know, like, did you go to college or even?
For one semester.
Okay, well, I feel like most people, yeah, when you go, you're kind of like in your pajamas, like,
Yeah.
you're like falling asleep in class. Like I definitely fell asleep in class.
Yeah, I was
Like,
tank tops and basketball shorts.
yeah, like I probably was too, to be honest. Like,
Hey,
yeah, right? And then I was there, I was like, I don't fit in with these people. I was like, but I'm interested in this. And then, yeah, that's when I got into fitness, but I still was sticking with that program because I was like 18 at the time. So I was like, this is what I'm going to do. But then I learned after when I started working after, I was like, this is going to drain my soul. Like,
yes, yes. It's crazy how so many people like will go to school, they'll experience it, and they find probably another thing that they're interested in, whether that's fitness or whether that's I don't know, they start a business with a roommate or something, but they still stick with their
yeah.
degree. And then once they finish, I love that they follow through with it. Honestly, that's good. But they follow through with it and then they get a job and they're thinking, they're like, yeah, this is gonna like exactly what you just said. Like this is gonna drain my soul. But I feel like during that time period, during like college, they like definitely got like, you know, exposed to a couple other things that end up being what they get into instead of their degree, if that makes sense. So it's like I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie, I'm not the hugest fan of college, but I will say like the exposure is second to none. Like when are you gonna be around so many people the exact same age and the exact
Mhm.
same time in their life And with so many different varying interests from different cities, different
Mm,
cultural backgrounds, and when you get that much exposure in one place, whether you decide to follow through and get a career in the degree you got, you still got so much exposure to so many other things that you can
mm.
tap into once you graduate and go into. So can you talk about like what exactly inspired you to get into fitness while you were in college? Was there a specific moment, or was it just like there was a gym next door to your dorm and you were like, I might as well go? Like, what was it?
Um, I think it was like a bunch of things you just touched on. So when I had moved, like honestly, I'd never really cooked food for myself, like maybe a little bit. It was mostly like my parents had made food and I would like heat it up, or they would have like frozen foods and things like that. So I just kind of knew how to heat those things up and cook like super easy things. And that kind of carried into college. Like also like didn't really have any money. So I think I ate like the most crap dinner possible. And then I noticed, I didn't like, I did, as much as I said I would sneak out to party, I never really drank. But then that was a huge culture in college. Like everyone there had been like partying for years. And I was like, oh, I'm like, I never did this. So then I started drinking more. And then from that, like I just started gaining weight. Like I wasn't really active because I was never into sports. So it wasn't something that I was used to doing. Probably sleeping way more, like eating way less than with the drinking on top of that. So then I noticed I was like gaining weight and feeling like really just uncomfortable with my body, like noticing clothes weren't fitting properly. And I don't remember if there was like a defining moment, but I remember I was dating someone in college and they were really into the gym. Like I wouldn't say they were a very fit person, but they were into the gym. And I was like, oh, I'm like, maybe that's something I can do. Like, and I think part of me too was like, oh, I gotta like look good to like impress people, which when I look back now, I'm just like, oh, never do that. But at the time, like, I did probably have very like low self-esteem just with everything going on, like living, moving away, meeting new friends and things like that. And I think the moment I decided to join a gym is because the gym actually came to the dorm I was staying at and was like, hey, we have these discounted rates if you want to come. And I was like, okay, I'm like, I think this is what I can start doing this. And it was like right across the street or something. So I signed up and actually like committed to go, which I know is like one of the hardest things for people. Like they know they have to do it, but then they might sign up and never go. And I just started going and I didn't know how to do anything. Like there was like, I think a circuit of machines and I would just every time go do one circuit. But then I noticed like I was actually getting results from it and I was like, oh, I feel better in clothes, and I like just felt like I could see my self-esteem was getting way better. Also, I can admit it felt good because people noticed too, right? They were like, hey, we've noticed you're like getting leaner and like this is like awesome, like good for you. So then that felt really good. And then it's funny enough, after I left college, I had got roommates and was living more like downtown Toronto, and then kind of continued with like that party lifestyle and like started working full time. Wasn't making a ton of money again, so kind of still had those shitty eating habits. But now I was working like full time and probably really stressed out. I was still doing the same things at the gym, but I was like, now I'm not getting any results. Like I feel like I'm moving backwards now. And then eventually I was like so fed up with it that I actually hired a trainer. I was like, I need to hire someone to help me with this. And I think that was the changing moment for me, that I was like, I need to switch careers because I saw how much it helped me. And I was like, I need to do this for other people.
So what did that transition out of so what was the actual, when you started working full-time out of college, what was that job that you got? What were you doing?
I worked as like a sales associate in like a clothing store. Like they sold suits or something. Like it wasn't anything, it wasn't a cool store. It was like suits for women. Yeah.
Oh, I've actually never seen, I mean, I've seen women wear suits, but I've never seen a store that has suits for women. So that's
Yeah.
what.
Yeah, right. Well, I feel like they weren't cool. Like it was more like an older market. Definitely an older market. Like I could not wear any of the clothes there. I was like, how did you hire me?
And, and how long did you work there before you decided like, okay, I'm really like feeling this health and wellness world. Maybe this is something I should jump into. This is something I feel like. It sounds like basically as you were going through that process, you saw how powerful it was to be in a position to serve another human and help them on their journey. So like
Yeah.
right when you decided to transition, like there? Like where were you at in life? Like how old were you? Like how many years had you been working at that job? What was happening?
I think probably close to 5 years. Like I had put a good chunk of time in there. And even after I left there, I'm trying to think. I'm like, I feel like this was so long ago now. Yeah. Yeah, so I remember I left there and then I started working at a gym as just selling gym memberships. But I still had continued with my own training, and then I actually got into doing fitness competitions, which I only ever did two. But that was kind of like that, meeting all these other people doing these like crazy things. I mean, so into fitness, I was so inspired. Um, but then I also realized doing fitness competitions, like having a trainer, that costs a lot of money. And I was like, I think I had transitioned into personal training at that time, and I was like, I'm not making enough money. Like I don't really have enough clients. And I was, instead of like going full on into it, I kind of got scared and pulled away, and ended up working another retail job, which was when Victoria's Secret came to Canada. I like helped them like open their stores and things like that. But then doing that, I realized how much I hated it, and I was like, no, I need to just go full into personal training and make this work.
Wow. I feel like a lot of personal trainers have like a similar experience when it comes to like first going into training. So like they get a job at a local box gym, and you
Yeah.
know they start working. Depending on the facility it is, you might like you may have to sell your training and do the training. You may only be a trainer who like sells training, or you may be just a trainer and the training sellers like send the
Yeah.
clients to you. So actually, what was that? What like the first time you started working? I know you said you sold training, but when you started doing personal training, um,
Mm.
inside the gym, was it what type of facility was it? Were you having to go find your clients on the floor, or were you like, or were there another workers that like hire them and then assign them to a trainer? Like, what was that? What was that like in the gym you worked at?
Yeah, so the first gym I worked at, it was definitely like a big box gym. Like there's probably the most of them in Canada. And when you first start, they kind of, I'm gonna say, help you get started. And they'll kind of filter in these small training packs that they'll filter into the new trainers. But then as a trainer, you're responsible to like sell them into the longer term packages. But then after your first, I want to say maybe like 1 to 2 months ish, you're basically responsible for all your own clients. So yeah, like talking to people on the floor, or like if you knew people, you pretty much had to like, you were responsible for all of it. And then on top of that, like let's say this is what eventually why I left, was if you were full with clients, you were still responsible to sell like a certain amount of money. So you, like as a trainer, you would have to sell for the other trainers. So where
Mm.
I worked, there wasn't like a specific person selling for people. It was like you had to sell for yourself, and then once you were full, you would sell for other people somehow with all this time you have. Like,
Right, which is so say at like the when you were like there for a while, like what was like a day in the life at a box gym as a trainer for Julie? Like when you were at your busiest, like break down a day in the life. Are you training every other hour? Are you training hour after hour for 12 hours? Like what's the day looking like?
uh, it would, I think it would depend. Like, at one point where I was like, I just need to start training people. Because that's the thing with these big gyms too, right? Like this client's paying whatever rate per hour, but you're getting such a small percent of it. So you're like, I need to like work essentially like an 8-hour shift of training, which I'm sure you know as a trainer, it's hard to train people 8 hours in a row. I don't think I've ever done in my life, but that's very hard to do, like stacking people on top, like hour after hour. There was, I think, a point when I was training for a fitness competition, I would get to the gym for like, I want to say like 5:30 or 6 a.m., do like some kind of morning cardio or workout, shower, get ready for like a 7 a.m. client. Probably had a client then, maybe another one after, maybe one in the afternoon. Then I would have like a few hours break, and I would sometimes just like try to get home and lay down and be like, okay, I gotta make it back for the evening. And then I would get up and usually work like 4 to 9 back-to-back clients. So I would say that's pretty yeah, how that was going. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's real. I like when I first got my first job at a box gym, like it was like mixed feelings. Like obviously I didn't like the fact that, you had to stack your clients and then it felt like you couldn't give all your energy that you want to be
Mhm.
giving to clients. And then like it feels like you're rushed to finish because the other client's standing there staring at you while you're trying
Right?
to finish training
Yeah.
your client. And it's like
Yeah.
it's an interesting dynamic, but at the same time there was something special about like waking up and going to the gym every day and you get your work in, you have your other trainers there that you most of the time become friends with, and then you guys train together sometimes, and then you
Yeah.
leave for lunch together, go grab some food. Like I liked that dynamic, but in terms of like how the pay scale was set up and like how clients are just waiting there staring at you, and then like you're like just a couple things, I'm just like, yeah, this is not the move. So it
Yeah.
sounds like it was similar to you. So when you transitioned out of your first job at the big box gym back to retail, you said you helped open up a few stores for Victoria's Secret when they moved to Canada, and then you were like,
Yeah.
no, this ain't it. I'm going all
Yeah.
in on training. What happened
Yeah.
there? Did you go back to a box gym, or did you like try to start your own business? What happened there?
From there, because I had like I had made a bunch of trainer friends like from working at the box gym, and I'd always kept in touch with them. And like during like when I was working with Victoria's Secret, I kind of had some one-on-one private clients, or like I did online coaching then a little bit, like before. Like now online coaching's so hot, and I was like, oh man, I used to do that so long ago. But so I did some of that, and then uh, I started reaching out. Yeah, because I hate it. Not that I hated working for Victoria. I'm like, maybe don't say that, but I didn't love it, and I noticed that my fitness was also like deteriorating, and I didn't feel great about it. So I was searching out other places that I could work out because and then I ended up meeting someone. They didn't own the gym, but they ran like a program out of the gym, and I was like, I'm gonna try this. So I'm like, I want to try their program. I'm like, I've been a trainer for quite a few years. I'm like, they seem really smart. They have like good training principles. And I'm like, I think I'm going to give this a go. So I had signed up for that program, and they had transitioned out of this like location they were renting with other people to their own location. And then from there, I was like, oh man, I love these, like, I love the trainers here, all the people here. It's like small group training. So it's not like you don't have that awkward one person standing there like staring at you, or like, okay, we're gonna rest, and everyone's like, okay. There was like 4 people there training, so like the energy really fed off of everyone, and I was like, man, I love this. And then because the owner knew that I was also a trainer, he was like, hey, we want to hire you. And I was like, oh man, I don't know if I can do this. Like, I don't want to screw myself over again. Either one, I'm like, you're gonna have these crazy expectations that I can't meet, or two, I'm like, I'm not gonna get any clients, and then I'm like, I have this job that pays me well, and like I can afford everything. I'm like, or I might not have any money now. I'm like, I don't know if I'm willing to risk it. But then I did really hate the retail, and I was like, this is like, what am I gonna do? Spend my whole life doing this? I was like, no way. So yeah, then I just took the jump and started working there, which was, it was really good because they essentially gave you all your clients, and you could sell on top of that if you wanted, because you could like earn extra money, or if you did, you could sell new clients if you had the time to do it. Like, they were very understanding. Like, if you're already working 4 hours in a row, like, you're probably not going to want to do a consult with someone right before or right after that. So it was really good in that sense. And I think from training there, I learned a lot, because there was a lot of like high level trainers, and it introduced me a lot of I guess different courses that some people that I really looked up to had taken, and it gave me the opportunity to like save money and take those. And then eventually from there, now I do run my own business. Like, I feel like that working at that studio really helped set me up to be confident as a trainer on my own. And even though like right now it's kind of like actually the gyms in Toronto, today's the first day that they're open. Like, we haven't
Wow.
been, yeah, we haven't had anything open. So it's kind of like a holy crap moment. Like, are people going to come back to the gym? Like, I don't, like, have you guys had the gyms open, or?
Pretty much. They closed
Yeah.
maybe the first, well, okay, I forget that I train at like a family owned gym, but the main gyms were like closed until maybe
Yeah.
about a month ago, maybe like 3, 4 weeks
Okay.
ago they opened up.
Yeah.
But then but now they're talking about like closing them down again. But they're seeing what'll happen. My gym is like a family-owned private gym, so
Yeah,
it closed for like a month maybe, but then like opened up again. So
that's cool. Yeah, I feel like with the smaller gyms, it's easier to manage at all, like the flow of people and like yeah, the gym I train out of, so yeah, today was the first day it was open, and it's a 24-hour gym. And I'm like with so I've been training people in the park, so I was like, let's just go and check it out. And we walked in and there was nobody there at like 8 a.m., which I don't know if that's like that popular, but I was like, I don't know, I feel like it's so hit or miss. People are like, I really want to get back to the gym, or they're like, I'm not going back right now. Like,
yeah, I feel super conflicted on my part. Like literally, like I said, the gym's been kind of open for a few months. So then like for 2 weeks I went, I was like in there, I was like, yay, I'm back. Like, but going in there, it was really quiet. Like I said, it's private gym, so maybe one or two people in there at the same time. And so I felt comfortable, but then like all of a sudden I started feeling uncomfortable again. I was like, I don't want to go like be around anybody in there. And so then like
yeah,
the past 2 weeks I've been back at the football field, and like same thing, like I've been training clients at the local football field and just doing it like
cool.
that instead of in the gym. But talk a
Yeah.
little bit about so pre-COVID, are you like where are the majority of your clients? Are they online or are they in person?
In person, as like I kind of uh was focusing a bit more on online coaching, I would say about 2 years ago. But then I realized it was actually a lot easier to get in-person clients. Like even though it was more expensive, I just found it was so much easier to get those clients and to keep them. And it was also hard to balance like in person and online, because I didn't have really great online systems set up at the time. So I can see why people wouldn't have stayed that long. Like I don't want to say the value wasn't great, but it probably wasn't the best. And like, I feel like for stuff online, you have to like really amp it up for people to stay and like pay a decent amount.
Absolutely.
Whereas in person, you're like seeing them, feeding off your energy, and you can like really correct their form and like really show the value there. So actually forget the question.
No, you're good. You're good. You answered it. You said it was just to see if the majority were in person or online. So
Oh, right. Yeah. In person, I found is so much easier to right now, I guess, because I do focus on it. Like I'm like, I'm gonna get this amount of in-person clients, so I really focus on it. Whereas the online, I don't. Like if just someone's like, oh, I'm gonna refer you an online client, I'm like, cool, let's just do it.
Right. I feel that. That makes sense. So as soon as like COVID hit, they shut down all the gyms. What's your first thoughts, and what are like, how did you pivot in that moment?
Oh man, I did not really do a great pivot. I kind of was like, oh my gosh, everything is closed. And I'm like, what is gonna happen? I honestly had a huge freak out probably. I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm like, literally everything I have spent building for, I would say the last like year is now gone. And I was like, oh my gosh. And like, cause a lot of clients, my in-person clients, they train with me because they're like, I want to be strong and I want to like learn how to squat, deadlift, do all these like get chin-ups. And then I realized I was like, I don't have any equipment. I was like, I literally have no equipment at my home. I was like, how am I going to show people how to do things? And then myself too, I had a really hard time, like the beginning part of COVID, like just with anxiety and stuff like that. So I felt like I couldn't even like, I had a hard time. I would reach out to my clients and then I would pull back away. And then when I would speak to them, they were going through like very high stress, high anxiety. And some of them had lost their jobs and were like, I cannot continue any sort of training. Some of them were like, I don't want to do any type of online coaching because I literally have two 10-pound dumbbells and we were squatting like, with a barbell and like actual weights. And they're like, I hired you to help me get better at that stuff. And while I understand these at-home workouts, like I need to do at-home workouts and things like that, I'm like, that's not why I hired you to help me. And I was like, oh man, I'm like, and I get it too, because I had been working on some programs as well. And I was like, oh man, doing like a ton of push-ups and like air squats. I'm like, that's not, I guess it's something, but it's not really pushing me to the goal that I wanted. So I did really understand where they were coming from. But it definitely was a really hard time. And then I think over the last, also it was like very cold here at the beginning of COVID, like March, April, even May, it was like I don't think it maybe it snowed, but like I was still in my winter jacket. Like it just like everything was just like not nice. But since it's been nicer out, and then I started noticing like other colleagues in the training industry, they were doing these workouts in the park, and I think like our phase 2, like no facilities were allowed to be open, but like outdoor stuff was allowed. And I was like, you know what, let me just see if I can start to do this. And then I started like talking about it, and like even just reaching out to other people I'd already trained. I mean, like, we're gonna meet at the park and do some stuff. I'm like, I have resistance bands. I'm like, so we're still gonna do weight training principles, but it's just gonna be in the park.
So before like it starts to warm up, what were you like, how are you surviving in that time period? I know a lot of
Surviving.
no, for real, so like you did mention, and two-part question to that. So you did mention like your anxiety was really high, and like people were definitely like, and still now, but like people's stress and anxiety, and I know for like family members of mine, depression were like super like on edge. So like how exactly do you, in or outside of COVID-19, manage anxiety or manage stress, and how does like fitness integrate with that?
So at first, I think a lot of the training I did in the past was more because like I was like, I want to be really strong and I want to like look strong and have muscle. And then when COVID happened, and then that all got taken away, and only recently, like I started doing workouts again, I realized how much that affected my mental health. I was like, oh, this is so much more than just like going to the gym and like broing out. It's actually, I feel so much better. I can think better. I feel better. And I have like way more confidence. So that was a huge change for me, like shift. And like, I feel really silly saying it because I was been a trainer for so long, and it's what I promote to my clients. I'm always like, love yourself where you're at now and things like that. But I really wasn't doing it myself for a long time.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I think I was having like similar feelings. It's like, yes, I have like, the core principles of what I believe about health and wellness, and about like, everything, it being more holistic, and it's not just about muscle. But then like, as soon as like things shut down, I was like, dang, I can't deadlift. Like I was just getting back into routine of like building my strength. Like I just
Yeah.
deadlifted this for 3, blah, blah, blah. And, like all like kind of mad. And I was like, what am I gonna do? I might as well just sit here and like eat pancakes. Like, and like,
Right.
but then,
Oh man, I've been killing it with the pancakes though.
hey, pancakes are delicious. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Honestly, I might have a nice little protein pancake after this. We'll see what happens. But like I definitely was slacking the first month or two of COVID, and then it's like when you start getting outside and you're going in your garage or wherever, and you just get a little bit of movement. Like my thing was, like I told myself after about like 4 weeks of slacking, like not really just not doing anything, I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go on a walk. I'm just gonna go
Yes.
on a walk. And
Yeah.
I mean, like it was kind of chilly, but I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna throw on like 2 hoodies and
Yeah.
just go on a walk with some headphones in, listen to a podcast. And those walks like started off as like little 5 minutes around the block, but then like I'd get into my podcast, and before you know it, I just walked 4 miles. And it's like once you start getting in the routine of just moving, you start understanding how much better you feel after, mentally, internally, and you're just like, I feel great. And so then you start adding in other things. You might do just 30 squats out of nowhere, and you're like, wow, I like my like I feel better. And
Yeah.
so I definitely feel you on that. And that definitely like helps me feel better. So I feel you on that. Um
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry, did you
Yeah. I was gonna say like that's almost exactly like, yeah, what I did. I started doing a little bit more, and just I also got rid of like um I guess just like very like all or nothing mindset or trying to do things perfectly. I was like, okay, I'm like, I can't go to the gym. I don't really have any equipment. I'm like, what can I do? And it was exactly that, going for walks. Other things like I started journaling a lot. Um, I did, I have been doing actually therapy as well, like on top of that, because I was like, I can see a lot of really bad thought patterns that are coming out of this, like things that maybe I thought I had dealt with in the past, but then like going through this whole situation like brought it all up again. And I was like, I feel like just like people hire trainers, I was like, I know I need like additional help and like a third or like a bird's eye view on this, because I'm like, I'm not helping myself, and it means so much to me to be successful in my business. that I was like, I'm never gonna do that if I'm stay stuck down here. So that like I definitely did that. And just kind of, I guess, brought it down to like the basics. Like, I guess a lot of things, like you probably do this with your clients too. Like, you don't start with all these crazy protocols, but I was like, okay, am I drinking enough water? Am I sleeping okay? Like, is my sleep routine good? Or am I like scrolling Instagram for hours and then trying to sleep? So just focusing on those things helped me like so much, and it made me appreciate it so much more, so that I can help my clients better, because I understand better now what they're going through. I guess because like I haven't been a beginner. I don't want to say I'm a beginner, but I haven't been a beginner starting fitness again for so long. So going through that again really helped me relate more to my clients or potential clients.
Absolutely. That's a great way of looking at it,
Yeah.
actually. I
Yeah.
did, perspective really is everything. And it's like, now with like, we're still going through COVID, of course, but like going through like I think the heat of it, there was so much like happening. People were stressed, and people were probably a lot of people were focusing more on the negatives than the positives that may come out of it. And so I think the most important thing that I kept reminding myself and reminding people throughout it, and then that you just kind of brought up right there again, is just understanding that perspective drives performance. Like everything like about your
Hmm.
mindset and how you approach different situations is what's going to like drive your future towards like more light. So like you breaking that down, like yo, never haven't been a beginner in a while. Like facts. I started working out when I was like 14. Not saying I knew exactly what I was doing, but like
Yeah.
I had a solid understanding of what I was doing over the past, 10, 11 years. And so it's like, okay, now like this thing hit and I can't lift weights right now. I don't have this, I don't have that. Like, do do I really understand the principles of training? Like, how can I like do I really understand the purpose of training? Do I really understand, why fundamentals and why the basic movement patterns are key and major? Like, and I think it like this moment kind of reinforced that all for me when it comes from a personal training perspective. Obviously, there's a lot of other things about mental health or about work and what I perceive as success. And so
Hmm.
I hear you on that. And speaking of perception of success, you said your business being successful is really important to you. Can you kind of define what success may or may not look like for you?
Yeah, that's so funny that you asked that, because that was something that I thought about a lot when I wasn't working, because I was like, what is success to me? Like, what is that? Like, why? I was like, what am I putting, like, as I put, I don't know what the word I'm trying to, but what am I thinking about? Like, what, like, is it working hard all the time? And I was like, now it got taken away. And then I was like, well, wait a second. If my whole business gets taken away, I'm like, then where is the success? I'm like, am I a bad person all of a sudden? Or like, where? So it's funny you asked that, because I was thinking so much about that. And I think taking the time off from training made me realize how much I would be training in the mornings, the evenings, like running around, and then just really burning myself out. So I would say like a success for me really is, I don't like using the word balance, like work-life balance, because I feel like there's always going to be a time when you're like pushing, like getting new clients and working harder for that. But then there's going to be a time when you want to push more, like I'm going to relax more, do all these other things. So I think it's important for me to like have those, I guess, I think people call them like seasons. Like I have seasons where I'm pushing really hard my business, but then knowing it's okay that I can have a season where maybe I'm relaxing a bit more, when I can travel again, do more of that, do more like education and courses and things like that. So I think being able to do both is an indicator of success to me. So not just always go, 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 but like actually having a personal life, doing things I love that are not fitness related. So I don't know about you, I'm so into fitness, so I'm always reading more about fitness, more about nutrition, more about that. But then like what COVID showed me is that can all just disappear like in a day. And then you're like, what am I? Like, you're like, I don't have what else. I was all that. And now there's nothing, like I have no sustenance left.
Thanks. No, I love that answer.
Yeah.
Seasons of success.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like that. I like that. Successful
Right?
seasons.
Yeah.
That's
Just
really
like,
dope. Yeah, no, it's real life. Like it's kind of like a rainbow. Like, there's different colors, different feelings for different seasons, but it's constantly
yeah,
like, there's ups, there's downs, and there's different colors in those ups and downs, like where you'll
exactly.
feel different feelings, and like all those can be different forms or different, um, you know, levels of success, but success nonetheless. So I
Exactly.
like that.
Yeah.
That was a great explanation. Um,
Thanks.
so 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 I'm gonna talk about think about your clients right now. Just think about all your clients in your head. I know this is like a
Mhm.
on the spot questions and stuff, but think
Yeah.
about all the clients in your head and what are some similar challenges in terms of like um just wellness overall are they facing? So like a lot of your clients, I know a lot of them have different goals, of course. Every individual is different, but what are some similar challenges that you could like group all your clients into?
Yeah. I would say so. One, most people work sitting down all the time. So they have a lot of like movement issues from just like being seated so long. So it could be like mobility issues. Um, Learning how to eat but still have a life. So like a lot of times people are like they see these like diet nutrition plans or they think they're going to get a trainer and then they're like I'm going to have to like eat like steamed broccoli and chicken breast all the time and like they need teaching them how to go out and eat with their friends, like drink alcohol. Like was one thing I always loved when my clients were like, "Hey, what is it okay to drink?" And like it's one, I'll educate them on like why there's like why you can drink or why you shouldn't drink and how it relates to their goals. But I would say that's a big one, just really like the balance between achieving your fitness goals and actually having a life and not feeling like burnt out from either of them.
Right.
I would say there's always like some like minor injury. Like there's always something like my ankle, I've sprained it so many times, or like I had this like weird shoulder thing. So there's always like one little like something going on there.
Absolutely. A little kink.
Yeah.
Everyone has like a
Yeah.
little kink going on. Little toes
Yeah.
broken, ankle
Yeah.
ankle feels weird, knees off
Yeah.
today, eardrum
Yeah.
hurts. Um
Yeah.
but it is real. Like, people I feel like the most like I'm so cautious when it comes to like injury in regard like anything like injury related when it comes to training. So like for example, I was training a client like an hour before this podcast outside and he came today and he had like a little ankle brace on and I was like, "What's that ankle brace for? Where you
And
wasn't
why'd you
wearing
tell me before?
right?" I was like, you weren't wearing that yesterday. What happened?"
Yeah.
And so I'm like, super cautious about it because I want to make sure, that they feel comfortable telling me when they're in pain, feel comfortable telling me if something's off. Like, I don't want to, you know, push you towards anything that I don't want to push you towards. So I have to be like aware. And I think like that's the scariest thing for me as a personal trainer is like just being super cautious about injury. Like my whole goal is to set you up so you don't get injured. Like literally, that's pretty much my whole goal. Whether I'm training athletes or whether I'm training general pop, I'm like, I want to make you stronger so that you're better able to, steer yourself away from like light injuries that can turn into something serious. So anyways, it's just funny because I'm like, those little like whatever it is, whether your little toe hurts, like tell me. I'm like, I want to know.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I feel like I'm sure you think the same thing. Like, anytime there's like a slight injury, that always has like a domino effect after that. Like, if their pinky toe hurts, they start walking weird. And when they start walking
Exactly. Yeah.
weird, then their knee starts aching up. And when their knee starts aching up, they start putting more pressure on the other side. Once they start
Yeah.
putting, it's like, it's all, we're an integrated unit. So if one thing's wrong, I really do need to know, or else I can't help you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think too, like one thing I've learned is like a trainer, like I don't know if like when you kind of first started, but you're like, okay, I can fix everything, I can do everything. But now I'm just like, no, I need to refer you out. Like you need to go get that looked at and then come back. Like I'm not a doctor. I'm not like all these things. There's people who are specialized in that. Like I specialize in exercise and like your movement. So like you need to fix that
Absolutely.
first, then I can help you. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's like one thing a lot of trainers, hopefully, a lot of new trainers listen to this podcast. And if you are listening or watching, like one thing to understand is don't take what she just said lightly, like we hear that in our training courses, like understanding the scope of practice and things of that nature. But like, you really need to be serious with that. Like you aren't, you aren't a professional at ACL injuries, or you're not a professional
Yeah.
at, a ankle that's been aching for 2 weeks and feels like they can't move. Like you're not a professional at that. Like
Yeah.
maybe like the first day you can try to address it, but if you see that like 2 3 days in a row, you need to you really need to become friends with, have connections
Hmm.
in the medical field, and and it can be like, I know mental skills trainers, I know doctors, I know therapists, and
Yeah.
it's like you really need to connect with people in your community, because I think the most important thing about personal training is you're giving back independence to people in your community. Like, they can actually
Hmm.
take control of their life when their health and wellness is
Hmm.
like in place. And if you connect them to like, a vertical integrated unit of different medical practices, like they have professionals that they can reach out to, and it's just all about community. So get connected if you're listening to this as a trainer. Like, if it's your first year, first month, whatever it is, start going to local doctors, start going to local therapists, and become friends. Get their business cards.
Just
And
ask them to coffee. I've had so many coffees with people. Like, they want that. And they, like, I found once I started doing that, they actually want to know trainers so they can refer people. So I think, like, yeah, just not having the expectation that you're going to, I guess, get something from that person right away, but just building the relationship. And I
absolutely.
think being okay saying, I don't know. Like, I feel like definitely when I first started, I was like, I need to know everything. I can't say I don't know how some whatever exercise works or anything. Now I'm like, oh, I don't know, but like I can find out for you. I think that was a huge change for me, like over the years, just being okay with not knowing stuff.
Yeah, I think like people hire trainers to kind of hand off something, hand off that pressure. And our job is to definitely take it on, but then re-inspire them to take that pressure back into like take that, let's not call it pressure, but take more responsibility in their health.
Responsibility, yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like it's a little catch and release. Like, they come to
Mhm.
hire us to hand off the responsibility of their health and wellness to us, and we come back with like trying to integrate it back into them little by little. So, you know,
Yeah.
just exactly, not knowing, saying it's okay to not know things, but then going and doing your education, or like going and researching that. They really want that because they don't want to look it up.
Yeah,
and on,
right?
on
Yeah.
and on top of that, sometimes they just don't understand the wording that's in these articles or something, whereas I'm not saying we're smarter than them, but we may be able to understand it a little bit better just because of maybe a solid foundational understanding of anatomy, or of
Exactly,
I
yeah.
don't know, just anything. So
Yeah, we're like the buffer. Like,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
So I have a difficult slash interesting question. I don't know. I like the question. So what do you think
Cool.
people what do you think that most people are doing wrong when it comes to like diet and fat loss? So obviously, health and wellness is a huge spectrum. It doesn't have to be about aesthetics. It doesn't have to be about fat loss, but unfortunately, that's all people really talk about. So I wanted to ask that question real quick. So what do you think people are doing wrong when it comes to their diet and fat loss goals?
I would say one, they are impatient. Like, they're looking for all these quick fixes, and unfortunately, there is it's good there is so much information out there, but there's so much information out there that's also just horrible. Like, sometimes when I'm scrolling through like a news thing, I'm like this trainer says this. I'm like, did they? I'm like, I don't think that's right. Um, and because people see so much of that, or these like before and after transformations, they're like, I lost 40 pounds in 12 weeks, and it's like, okay, maybe that could happen, but like this person who maybe has no idea how to eat, et cetera, like that's not going to happen for them. And like, because I mean, with marketing and stuff like that, you see the best, right? Like, you see this person did this or whatever. So I think being impatient, uh, and learning how to manage your expectations. So I know that's, like, people hate when I say that. They're like, oh, well, this, and like it's always one of the first things I say, like after a consultation and they've signed up. I'm like, you have to understand, like, I can be, this is, let's say this is 10 out of 10. And like, these are the habits you need for that. Like, where are you on there? Like, are you willing to prep everything? You're going to measure it all. You're going to do all this, drink enough water. You're going to sleep. And like, if that's like a huge change from your life right now, like, you're probably not going to do it, or you'll be able to for a short period of time. But then that's when people fall off and they get discouraged. Then they don't know where the motivation went. And then that's when things start getting all like willy nilly again. So I think there's, I believe people should track their food, especially if they want to lose weight, lose body fat. Um, I wouldn't say necessarily you have to do that starting right away, but you need to have a tracking method because people eat a lot more than they realize, or they've been chronically under eating for so long that their body, like you can't, like if you're eating 1,000 calories, like where am I cutting calories from? Like you have to kind of reverse diet them back and then you can reduce the calories again. So I think tracking your food, people hate it. They think you're building like an eating disorder and you're obsessive about it. But no, like you're becoming more aware of what you're doing, and it's not that you have to do it forever, but I think starting off with that is pretty important, especially for, I would say, weight gain as well, but most people are looking to reduce body fat and don't quite understand why they're not getting there. What else are people doing wrong? Those I think are some of the I would say, I guess because I know how much it helped me, but like working on their mindset. Like a lot of times people think, okay, I have a nutrition plan and I have exercise and I'm gonna be good. But they don't realize there's all these like, I guess like inner demons that they never dealt with. So they always have this like thought that they're never good enough, and they think by starting a plan that's gonna help them out. And it might for a little bit, but then once they, you know, either fit into the smaller pair of pants or they can do whatever it is, they still don't truly love themselves. So no matter what results they get, they're never truly happy. So I think working on those things, which sometimes it's hard to do that with a trainer. Like if someone's kind of done a lot of mindset work, read into all that kinds of things, or even just worked with a lot of clients like over time, and they kind of understand, they understand what the client's going through, but maybe like following Instagram's accounts would be helpful, like ones that specialize in that. I'm trying to think of like the solution for that. I actually really liked what you said about taking responsibility, because that's something I talk a lot with my clients about. Because again, they think they're getting like this diet and nutrition plan and everything is going to be good, but then they're not truly taking the actions themselves to change. So then once they're either done the plan or they're like, oh, you're a bad coach because you didn't help me lose weight. And it's like, okay, well, you like skipped workouts, you were late, you did all these things, you didn't take responsibility for yourself for the actions, and you're just placing blame to kind of like feel better about yourself. But reality, you know, it was you.
Absolutely. No,
Yeah.
that's major right there. I think that's
Yeah.
like the most major thing. Is there's so many things that there's so many small little habits you can add on to help you with your journey. There's so many cool training styles that may work for you. There's so many like minute details when it comes to wellness, mentally, physically, or spiritually, but it doesn't really matter if you're not, willing to take full responsibility.
Yeah.
Because all those little habits, you're not going to practice them consistently if you don't take full responsibility. You're not going to go to the gym 3 times a week like you planned, because if you don't take full responsibility, like your
Exactly.
client can text you in 2 hours before your session every day, but if you don't take full responsibility, like you're not going to go to your session. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
responsibility or extreme accountability, like David Goggins talks about. If anybody's familiar with David Goggins on Instagram, like extreme accountability is so major. Like it may not be your fault that you hurt yourself and became overweight, like, or like you fell. It may not be your fault. Somebody crashed into you and now you have a backache and you're trying to fix it through therapy and training. But it is your job to take full responsibility and decide where you're going to go here on out. So extreme accountability / responsibility, I think, is the most major thing when it really comes to anything at the end of the day. But definitely with
It's
this
true.
with this fitness stuff for sure. Beyond the physical benefits of like training and getting in the gym and lifting weights, whatever your goal might be. Some people might want to get super aesthetic, and be 6-packed out, so they're training how they train. Some people want to get super strong and feel powerful like a superhero, so they may be doing a lot of of the major movements of deadlifting, squatting, bench press. But outside of like the physical benefits, the physical gains, what do you think are some additional benefits to just committing to a healthy lifestyle?
I think it helps people build confidence and their self-esteem, because when they do take the responsibility and they start building those different habits, they feel better about themselves. Like I find most people when they start training, they're like, either they want to gain muscle or like lose body fat. But then like when I touch base with them later on, I'm like, hey, like, tell me about like your experience. Like, what did you notice anything changed over like the 3 months or whatever we were training together? And they're like, yeah, I've like, some people like they like, if maybe they don't want to go out on dates, like they're so uncomfortable with how their body looks, like they won't even go and meet new people. Not that we really can right now, but like before. Or they like hate trying on clothes. Like a lot of times people, they like keep this closet full of clothes and they're like, I just want to fit back in those clothes. And I'm just like, just get rid of them. Honestly, get rid of them, because you're just looking to the past of like all these things that happened. Like get some stuff that you feel good in now. I'm trying to think what else. What was the question again? Sorry.
Yeah, no,
I go
you're
off on
good.
rants, obviously.
No, you're good. You were covering the right topic, but yeah, just what are some additional benefits like outside of physical benefits when you commit to a healthy lifestyle? Those were great so far.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So yeah, definitely with the self-esteem, the confidence, like just doing something for yourself. I think it helps people establish some boundaries around health and fitness for them. So when like types of foods they eat, just things like sleeping on time, water, like when I feel like that's what really helps people build confidence, is once they kind of build that boundary and then they can stand up for themselves. That's a huge thing. Also the mental health, like just moving, feeling good about that, and they can handle stress better. That's a huge one, actually. I didn't mention it before, but what most of my clients have in common is they work like either stressful jobs, or they're just always like trying to balance social work, things like that. And having a better capacity to do that through working out is huge.
Absolutely. I love it. I got one final question for you, and then we'll wrap it up. I just want to say thank you so much today. So far, the conversation has been great. I think there's some key gems some people can grab out of here. And then I also think it's just great for people to get to know who you are. Whether they train with you in the future, or whether they end up following you on Insta, or whether they do none of that and they just hear this podcast. So
honestly, that's cool. Yeah.
Hey, you know, at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
So my last question is, you talked a little bit about throughout the podcast, you know, just feeling strong, and how like a lot of your clients came to you so they could feel stronger and feel more powerful in their body. So they were doing a lot of the main movement patterns when it comes to deadlifting or squatting. You were teaching them how to, you know, do those movements, you know, with confidence. So can you talk a little bit about or like speak to the individuals, the women who, because this is a common myth and this is a common misconception, but talk to the women who think, I don't want to deadlift, I don't want to squat, I don't want to bench because it's going to make me huge, it's going to make me massive, I don't want to feel like that. Like, just speak to that mindset and kind of just share what you think about. I don't know if that was a direct enough question.
Yeah,
but
no, I understand. Yeah, so if someone's like, oh, I'm scared to get big, usually I will use myself as an example. Like when you look at me, you're not going to be like, yeah, this chick is a monster or anything like that. Like I definitely like, I work out, I can, not currently, but in the past, I'm like, I can squat, deadlift, bench, like a decent amount. And like, I don't really have, like, I don't have a lot of muscle definition. And I try really hard to gain muscle, okay? Like with my food and my workouts, and it's just that much harder for women to do it. So I'll legitimately use myself an example. Also, I would maybe ask them why. Like, why is that an issue for you? Like, some people straight up just don't like it. That's fair. They're like, I don't want my t-shirt to fit tightly, and that's totally fine. But maybe if they're open to chatting about it, they might be like, well, I'm afraid to look more masculine, or I'm afraid to look this way. So I tend to dig deeper on questions like that to figure out what it is. Like maybe they won't feel sexy, and that's fine if you don't think that's sexy. Like everybody has an opinion on what that is. But I would say it's honestly so hard to build muscle. It takes time to build up strength. Like seeing some dude lifting like 400-pound deadlifts, like it takes time to get there. And you have to eat enough to get to those goals. So I think like I would be more concerned, like you're gonna keep eating like crap but gain body fat, and how's that okay? You know?
Right. Facts.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, here you got two options.
Yeah, I'm like, what are we doing here?
And one option will probably take you, you know, years and years of eating a crazy amount of calories on top of training
Like
extremely
lifting,
hard,
yeah.
right?
Like it's
Committed,
hard.
and then most likely, from what you're probably imagining in your head of extreme jackness and veins popping out of your lady arms, you're probably gonna need some extra steroids and some drugs because
Right?
naturally
Yeah,
that
you're
just
gonna
doesn't happen.
exactly. Yeah. Like exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I always love to hear, you know, women in fitness just speak about fitness and health and wellness. I think it's been such an oversaturated industry in terms of men being like the
Mm,
face of the industry. And I think over the past 5 to 10 years, we've been seeing more faces for women, representing women's strength, women's power, women's empowerment, and how fitness can contribute to all of that, and how fitness can
mm.
contribute to your career as a businesswoman or as a whatever you do, a lawyer, a political candidate. Like if your fitness is on point, you know, it's just going to add so many beautiful things to
Honestly,
your
it's
life.
so true. Like just doing that for yourself, it feels freaking great. And it's usually, I think, something people want to feel like deep down. They think it's just losing body fat or something like that, but really is it's feeling good and confident about themselves. Yeah.
Absolutely. Is there any, so again, ladies and gentlemen, we have Julie Green from the Six from Toronto. If you don't know nothing about Toronto, then you slacking. I mean, apparently you're not
Yeah,
listening
me,
to
I'll probably yeah.
exactly. Sure, DM. She'll break it down for you.
Yeah.
When COVID-19 disappears in the next year, or not disappears, but calms down, you know, go visit Toronto, go visit Julie. If you have
Yeah.
any friends that live in Toronto that are looking for training or looking to jump on their health and wellness journey, go to Julie. If you have any questions about health and wellness and you're a woman and you don't feel confident in talking to a man and you need an amazing woman to talk to, lady to talk to, hit up Julie. Long story
Yes,
short, hit
please,
up Julie.
please message me. I want to talk to you. Yeah.
Yes, 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 yes. Amazing. Is there any last words you'd like to share with the people, Julie, before we log off here?
Oh, no. I'm like, no. I have no cool catchphrases or anything like
Hey,
that.
all good. Go ahead and lead them. Go ahead and drop your Instagram handle. And if you have a website, I'm not sure if you do, but if you do, go ahead and leave that, and then we'll also add that in the bio. So go ahead and tell them where they can find you on social or your website.
Awesome. So it's super easy. My Instagram is Julie Green Fitness. My website is also juliegreenfitness.com. I did this for you guys to keep it simple.
All right, and that you did a good job because honestly, people be adding like, oh, this is to Jackie fitnessandwellness.com. I'm like, yo, hold up, that's mad, that's too much.
Yeah. No, it's Julie Green Fitness. It's right there.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much for the
Thank
conversation
you.
today. You know, look forward to future conversations. I'm sure we'll do a part 2 just to get more in depth on you know
Awesome.
more fitness things and everything. And I look forward to continuing this friendship. And podcast
Awesome.
listeners, thank you guys for
Yes.
listening. Again, share this episode with a friend. Share Julie's Instagram with a friend. And you know, let's level up. The Culture Talks. Peace out. So